Look, it's been a really sombre and sobering reminder of the level of pain and suffering brought to bear on not only the people of Afghanistan, but by extension, the Afghan diaspora communities here in Australia. And, you know, what we're seeing here is not anything that we weren't already somewhat aware of. And, you know, what has been happening over decades of the war on terror and the conduct that has, you know, during the intervention since 9/11. And, you know, with these atrocities are thoroughly condemnable and should be repudiated in unequivocal terms. And for us, it's just not enough to express mere concern or shock. This goes to the very heart of who we are as a nation.
And Deanna, what kind of emotions does it bring up among the Afghan community here, many of whom themselves have fled the country in decades of conflict, as you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think that the diaspora community are really feeling this at different levels, but I really want to focus and centre the actual victims of the alleged war crimes. And, you know, they might not be able to speak out publicly, but they should be heard through any of the criminal investigations that might be brought forward by the Australian Federal Police. In terms of the sentiment, you know, it's just, for us here in the diaspora community, the ongoing violence that we have endured as a displaced people off of our lands, it's been ongoing now for decades. And this long protracted war, we're still not in a post-conflict era. We still haven't had any capacity or space to recover or to really reconstruct and rebuild our lives. And this is another reminder of how much we have, as Muslims, as Afghans, as refugees, consistently been dehumanised by the media, by different governments, and our lives just don't seem to matter.
There are recommendations for compensation to be made to victims and their families. What could or should that look like in your view?
Absolutely. And as part of those reparations, obviously, the lives of those that have been so unjustly taken can never be replaced. And those families and the victims themselves, you know, reparations will never replace a life. So it's important that that's a welcome first step in acknowledging that justice and accountability must be had as well. And what's really important to bring home as well, that this sort of operation that has been allowed to go on in sort of this culture of ego, elitism and entitlement within this sort of institutional structural framework of our military apparatus, whether it be in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, as you know, Yvonne, this has been my life's work to shine a light and bring sort of attention to bear on these ongoing atrocities and the ongoing violence. For us, really, it actually requires a complete overhaul of our defence forces. And today and yesterday has been a real day of reckoning, and I hope that this causes some real structural and systemic change within our defence forces.
And finally, what's your view on the response from the Australian government so far?
You know, I think that it's a welcome first step. Obviously, we welcomed the inquiry, we welcomed the statement and the apologies from General Angus Campbell and to the Afghan government as well. And obviously, you know, a lot of Afghan Australian lawyers will be, you know, watching this, the next sort of what happens next is really important, and to maintain the pressure on the Australian defence apparatus and the government in turn. We're talking not just about low-level commanders. This is a chain of command that comes very much to the higher echelons of our institutional apparatuses. So we really need to, we welcome this first step, of course, but this is just, you know, one step of many that we hope will come, where reparations are had, justice and accountability is served to those families and obviously the victims. But it's really important that this also brings about a whole culture shift where this level of impunity and the value of people's lives are respected, and the laws of armed conflict are also restored, because otherwise there's just no trust and confidence going forward.
Deanna Sayed, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us on The World.
Thanks, Yvonne.